All right, let's go to the next one then. So this is assertion. This is basically then how you are going to verbally communicate your thoughts and your feelings, all right? And so there's kind of a continuum that we almost all go back and forth on to some degree, and assertive is where we want to land, but submissive is very easy and aggressive is very easy as well. So submissive is those that tend to lean towards that are a little bit more those types, they're usually feelers, harmony at all costs. Maybe they grew up around conflict and they hate conflict, and so they want to avoid it. All right, so then they're submissive. Let's sweep things under the carpet or push things down, don't say anything, don't mention anything. The problem is with submissive people, if it was just that, then that's great. You can use submissive style when you can truly let it go, but that means you have to let it go. But submissive people, what they tend to do is what I call gunny sack it. So they take this event that they let go, then they take another event that they let go, and then they take another event they let go, and now they have a whole big old gunny sack of things that they've let go. And usually what happens with submissive people is that all of a sudden something will overflow and they're done. So if you think about that, suppress, 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 you can only do that for so long, and then there she blows, right? And then usually what will happen, and so they kind of stockpile offenses. Like, so they've got it, they stockpile it, and then all of a sudden, boom. And then one person gets everybody's emotion, okay? And so then that person gets, and they're like, whoa. And usually those submissive people, they're pretty easy to get along with, they're harmony at all costs, so everything's good, until all of a sudden it's bad. All right, so what happens then is submissive people will quickly turn to aggressive, and then they'll feel really bad about being aggressive, and so then they'll go back to actually being submissive. All right, and so that's kind of the pattern. The other thing submissive people do is that they're submissive with their verbals, but their non-verbals are very aggressive. Okay, so that's where I'm hinting that I'm in a really bad mood. So it's the eye rolling, it's the silent treatment, it's all those kinds of things. So I'm hinting to you that I want your activity to change or what you're doing to change. So guy comes home from work and the wife she's submissive. I mean, he's submissive, the husband is submissive. She wants to talk and he's got the newspaper, right? She keeps talking and he keeps doing this. Okay? And then by the end there's absolutely no eye contact. And he's hoping that she catches on the hint that I don't really want to talk. But that's actually very passive aggressive. It's very aggressive. What would be better in that moment? To say, you know what, honey, I really want to hear about you today, but then I'm going to need some time just to decompress, you know? So let's tell me everything, and then can I have half an hour?
I want to go have a half hour first, and then...
Either one works. You know what, can I have half an hour of quiet, and then I want to hear all about your day?
Yeah.
Anything like that, right? Okay, so they tend to sweep things under the carpet, but their nonverbals are very aggressive. But their verbals are not, which again is that dominating tactic, because then you're not sure. Like it's the pounding. If you want your neighbor to, put their noise down, you pound on the wall, right? So we use those. That would be more passive aggressive, right? Than going over and saying, hey, I'm trying to sleep. Would you mind turning your music down?
Could this change depending on the people you're talking to? Like I feel like I have people in my life who are very submissive when it comes to dealing with other people, and then when they get around me, they're comfortable enough to just get aggressive with their frustrations, and they kind of just unload, and you're like, what did I do?
Yeah,
Why
I think we're always on this continuum.
Okay, so you can do...
Oh yeah, you can be both. Yeah, submissive people, though, tend to be embarrassed about aggressiveness unless they're with somebody that they really know.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll actually do it passive-aggressively, is what they're a little bit more prone to, okay? Then you have aggressive people, and aggressive people, they just want to win at all costs. It doesn't matter how I win, I just want to win, okay? So they're going to get aggressive in their communication, they're going to get aggressive in the way they communicate. It's very much, I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to prove that you're wrong. All right, so I'm in a meeting, this was a while ago, so I won't set the context for where that was. So I'm coming in trying to kind of navigate between two people, but the one person, all they wanted to do was prove in that meeting why they were right. And so they came in with one agenda. I'm trying to get both sides on the table and figure out the gaps. But they came in, so the meeting went nowhere because there was no way to get past, I am right and you are wrong. All right, well then, where can you go? And that's like the fool who's right in his own eyes, Proverbs. I've just read Proverbs, so I've just got all these things from there.
Perfect.
So they're always right in their own eyes, all right? And they'll do whatever, if they have to raise their voice, if they have to, you know, those are the ones that write the aggressive letters. I always say if you're typing your emails and you're typing and there's hard pounding, step away from the keyboard. You should never, ever, ever, ever do that. That is not going to get you anywhere. Assertive. Assertive is communicate what is important to you while still valuing others, and that's really important. Okay, actually I want to tell you a story about the aggressive. So we had this when I was in school, right? I worked at the resort. And there was a lady that literally had a pantsuit color, this color. And she was leading, they were having a dinner for the roundup of Baptist ladies' Bible study. So it was all ladies. And here's how things went. You would call one of the sales managers and then they would get what you want in the room. And then closer to the date, they would finalize all the things, down to the napkins, down to the colors, I mean down to everything. So it's very, very detailed. And it was called like it was an agreement that we had. The agreement is that if you want to change anything, you can. You just can't do it. You have to do it within 24 hours. Otherwise, they're going to we'll charge extra because we have the room set up. If we have to reset it, then they're going to charge extra. So she comes in, and I'm the captain on that event. And she comes in with her thing, and literally the room in her mind was all wrong. So everything was wrong, and she went off on me. And just about, I can't believe the people they have working here, and I mean everything. I'm like, I'm a people working here. And so she was so aggressive. And so she was so upset, and I said, okay ma'am, and I'm using all my techniques, calm, keep your voice quiet. All right ma'am, I understand this is not to your liking. What would you like? What did you have in your mind? And so she paints me this whole picture and she's all aggressive. Okay, I said, now, because you didn't call 24 hours in advance, I will have to charge you extra for that. And I'm all calm, well, and then she's all upset. Well, then by the end, after I explained everything, well, then this is fine. You know, so it ended up being fine. But the sad part is that, and I'm so glad it was me on that event and not other non-Christian captain on the event, because as soon as all the other ladies started showing up, she was this sweet little demure green pantsuit lady. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. But she was so demeaning. Nothing was perfect. I couldn't do anything right. Nothing was done right. And so it was a very, very awkward moment. Now, if she would have come in and said, oh man, boy, this is not what I had in my head. I had something different in my head. Well, what did you have in your head? Paint the picture for me. And she painted the picture. I would have bent over backwards to make sure that happened to her, and I wouldn't have charged her. But because she came in the way she came in, it didn't get her anywhere, right? So what we want to do is assertive communication, which is somebody that she can still value her opinion. You know, my opinion still has value, but you have value. So she could have come in there and say, oh man, you know what, I am sorry, but this is not what I had in my head. I think I didn't communicate it clearly, or something went wrong, whatever. And and as long as she's valuing me and her valuing her own opinion, I would have bent over backwards. Around the same time, it was interesting because I was observing all of this. I was taking flights from Bellingham to Seattle to wherever I was going to teach or whatever. And my flight from Bellingham to Seattle was getting canceled constantly. So either one way or the other. And so it was in one quarter, it was the fourth time. So I went to the airport and it was the fourth time that this was happening. And so I went to the counter. Submissive people, what were submissive people doing in that situation? They were talking to everybody else, but not going to the counter, right? So they were talking to other people about the situation and complaining and doing all the gossiping things over here, but they weren't actually dealing with it in the right way. So that's what a submissive people were. The aggressive people were all ahead of me at the counter. Right? And I still remember the guy's name was Luke. Luke was at the counter. I just felt so bad for Luke. And there's about 5 people ahead of me, all yelling at Luke and in his face, and it was just horrible. So I get to the counter and I go, okay, Luke. I said, first of all, I am sorry that you've been on duty today. I am so sorry for this. I said, now here's the situation. I know this is not your fault. And so I'm sorry for what you just had to experience, but the problem is I'm starting to lose faith in this airline. What can I do? Who can I call? Who can I talk to? Put me in the right direction of what to do about this. So he gave me numbers, and then he gave me a $200 voucher. Then he goes, thank you so much. So it got me much more ahead of what these other people got, right? Okay, so that's what you want to do with assertive communication. Is value your opinion. It doesn't change the fact that I was losing faith, okay? I have to deal with that. I can't just sweep that under the carpet, because then what it does, it oozes out into other, I'd be talking about that airline to everybody else. But I want to deal with it in the right way. And I want to deal with it that I'm actually valuing the person that I'm talking to, okay? So that's the,
Makes sense.
and we float. Okay, I had some examples. Let's do some examples because I actually took them out of this. So some examples would be like you're in a movie theater, the person's talking behind you. What would be the submissive way to deal with that?
Tap the person sitting next to you.
Yeah, can you believe this idiot? And maybe whisper loud enough, so he could actually hear you.
Yeah.
So that would be the hinting. Submissive people are great, they like to hint and hope people get it.
You like shake your head but not fully look back.
Yeah.
And if they don't respond, then look a bit more, and then eventually look all the way back. And
Yeah,
then
there
look
you
back,
go.
But don't actually make eye contact.
No, yeah. So anything along those lines, that's what submissive people would do. What would the aggressive people be doing?
Dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Stand up, turn around.
Is anybody else here want to have a conversation? Whatever.
That would actually be funny. Swearing at him.
Yeah. Some of us are trying to enjoy the movie. Things like that, right? What would be an assertive way to deal with that?
Excuse me, sir. Do you mind shutting up?
Still aggressive.
Wrong. No.
I mean, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be awkward no matter what, but just like, hey, we're both here to really enjoy this sweet movie, and unfortunately, I can't hear it. I don't know how you would do it.
Because you're
it's so
talking.
awkward.
It's so awkward.
Hi, my name's Ainsley. And then just get in a new conversation, join it.
Yeah, join
Just
it.
join the conversation.
I like what you guys are talking about.
I really enjoyed this.
No, that would be submissive, and that's hinting.
It's cool that this is a great place to
And then we'll get yelled at.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, what you can do is just say, excuse me, I know that you probably like talking during the movies.
I know.
Could you mind just keeping it down a little bit lower? I said, because it's kind of interfering in my enjoyment of the movie. And if you use words like feel, how this is what's happening to me, I'm experiencing this, then that's usually your better route. So they always say, well, when this happens, it makes me feel this. Can we talk about this? In that circumstance, you can say, you know what, I'm assuming that you really like talking during the movie. But could you keep it down? Because it's just getting hard for me to hear what's going on in the movie.
What if they just like blow up then?
That's all you can do. You can only do your side, you cannot do anything about them.
Yeah, we need to practice with this.
What are you
But
getting?
Yeah.
even your words that you're choosing words that are not aggressive.
Why and you,
Yeah.
yeah. You're talking too loud would not be, that would be, he would immediately get fight or flight.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I can think of a recent example of this.
Sorry.
No, me and Brendan, who was on staff here, we were at Kalispell Brewing Company, and they did like last call. It was almost 8 o'clock, and he went down and was like behind 20 other people trying to close their tabs and get a beer. By the time he got to the counter, she's like, "Sorry, closed, or we can't serve you beer. It's after 8. I can't give you any beer." And so he was put in that position of like, do I turn to Josh and stuff and just be like, "I can't believe this place, been waiting here so long, yada yada." Does he just get aggressive? Be like, "I've been waiting here, for all this time," and he handled it really well. he was upset.
Yeah,
It's like, well, I've been waiting here for like the past 20 minutes, and I realized you guys are really busy, and
good, there you go.
that, it's just you guys have been rushing back and forth. And she's like, I really can't serve after 8 o'clock. We can't legally do that. He was like, okay, understand. It's all right. And he ended up getting a token for a free beer to come in next
Yeah.
time
Yes.
because of how he handled the situation.
Good, and it's that he did those right things. He goes, because with what I did with Luke, okay, I understand this is what you're
Yeah.
experiencing. Here's what I'm experiencing.
Mhm.
So how can we come together on this? Yeah. So those are the way you can value. You want to value them, but you also want to make sure you don't back down from what your values are and what you're believing. Because he has every right to. I've been waiting here 20 minutes. Otherwise, you talk about it and you get all upset and nothing gets resolved. So now he's got a token, he'll go back. Now, if they're smart, that's what they'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, your roommate is playing music too loud. And they've done this for quite a while now, and you've let it go and you've let it go, and right now your steam is right here. What would be the best thing to do in that situation?
Leave.
Leave and slam the door on your way out.
Yeah.
Bonus.
Yeah.
Break their eye
And if
contact.
you're really strong, you can punch it too, and then
Yeah.
get a hole in the door.
Yeah. Probably in that situation, you actually want to wait until your emotions are down. So the next day, during the day when the music isn't going, just say, you know what, lately it seems like the music is just a little bit too loud really late at night. I understand that that's when you're trying to relax, and so, if you wouldn't mind putting headphones on, because it's hard for me to wind down at the end of the day. So when you're here, your best bet is to step away from the conflict.
So leaving is a good thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah.
In that situation.
In that situation,
Yeah,
it
take a
is,
step
it's
out.
step away for a while. When you've gunny sacked things for a little bit, especially if you haven't said, here's the other thing that submissive people will do. And I target this one because in Christian communities, we're almost all submissive. So what we'll do is, we didn't bring it up here, but when we get here, we're gonna bring up, this time the music was too loud, this time.
They're gonna say,
Probably have a
"What you told
list
me to
too.
begin with."
And whatever else, yeah. And that is not fair fighting,
Yeah.
no.
Because they might not even have known about it.
They don't know about that. Why didn't you say something then?
Yeah.
Right? So if you want to bring these up, like let's take the music when, for the past week the music's been really loud. Okay, well, let's talk about the one event. And you know what? I'm sorry. I should have said something right away. I didn't say anything, and now it's actually becoming a bit of a frustration for me, but I am sorry that I didn't say anything. So then you take the fall for not doing this. Because they're just living their life. They didn't know it was bothering you. Right? So if you gunny sack, and then because sometimes you actually have to bring up those past incidences.
Yeah.
But if you do, then you have to take ownership of that was a bad.
Is it you or Carrie who has said if you haven't communicated how you feel, you have no right to be upset?
Yeah, it's expectations.
Yeah.
So if you have an expectation and you haven't communicated it, every frustration usually comes out of a misunderstood expectation, right? And so or an unmet expectation. So if you're frustrated, you got to ask yourself, okay, well, if I'm frustrated, what did I expect? Okay, I expected this. All right, do I have the right to expect that? That's your first question. And if you don't have the right to, or if you don't have the right, then you have to let it go. But if you didn't communicate it, then just go communicate it, right? Yeah. I thought this, and I'm sorry I had that expectation. And then go back.
How often do you have to do that in marriage?
Oh,
Like every day?
maybe not every day, but a lot. And earlier on, when you're learning how to,
Sure.
yeah. Yeah, this is marriage 101 right here.
Mhm.
You gotta nail this
Great.
stuff down.
Loving it.
I can just see it being so applicable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and especially this. Oh my gosh, this happens in probably every marriage. And then what happens is we take an event and we make it much bigger. Unless we're willing to take ownership that we did it. we made it this way. We made it bigger than what it should have been. Yeah. That's always my advice to couples. And you know what my mother-in-law, for as twisted as their marriage is, she told me, she said, say it now. If you have a struggle, if you have something that's hard, say it now. Don't wait 20 years. It doesn't get easier. And then you know what, for the last 20 years this has been hard for me. That better be all you.
Yeah.
I am so sorry I haven't said anything. I should have. I didn't. Doesn't mean that after 20 years you don't say it, but
Yeah.
you better apologize profusely for not saying it earlier.
That would just suck to be in a marriage and have someone say, hey, for the last 20 years,
Oh my
you've been clipping your toenails in the bed and I go into the bathroom and throw up.
Yeah.
It's like something that you do
Wow.
that's so part of you
Yeah.
that has really bothered them.
I was telling the group yesterday that Mark and I, like at 7 years, we started this thing because we read this marriage book that said, you know, every once in a while ask the question, what makes it hard for you to live with me? So that's a good question to ask periodically.
Be careful if they come with a list.
Well, no, you ask for one thing. So just
Oh,
what's
yeah,
one
okay.
thing?
What if
Pick
I might get a
one
list?
thing. Yeah, no, don't do that.
That's smart.
What's one thing that if I changed that, it would be easier for you to live with me? And so we've done that then. We started at our 7th and then we've done it about every 2 or 3 years. We do that again. Not every year, because it takes a while to change a habit. It was funny because the first time we did it, so this is going to date us, but the first time, what Mark came up with, it was hilarious. It was, could you put the phone book away? Yeah, so it was one of those little things.
Yeah.
But it was such an irritating thing for him because I would put the phone book out on the table, call whatever I needed to call, and leave it there. And that was so irritating. Of all the things I